as I'm getting into today, I want to talk about oneness. I forget which one of you asked maybe yesterday about the topic, but oneness. Because people on earth, they talk about it, they chant it and drum it and have shirts that, oneness, we're all one. But living it is an entirely different thing, and truly understanding it, it's a completely different thing. And what's happening on the planet is not just more of the same. This isn't like just another kind of a cool thing happening, another movement of some spiritual kind. We had this religions, and we had the kind of the New Age movement, and it's not just another movement. All of this is God's plan for complete awakening, everyone's awakening. It's God's plan, which means it can't fail. It's not like, and then there's somebody else's plan. God's plan. There is only God. So it's going to work. And as it says in the Course in Miracles, we just choose when. So all we have to do is kind of get over ourselves and not stall. Not be one of the ones stalling. Well, how do I know if I'm stalling? If you're still not capable of understanding you are part of everyone else, we're in this together. Think lesser of anyone, and you're stalling. You're holding everyone back. The gears slow down with every judgment. And, I know that in the spiritual movement, there's these temptations that, many times to think, this planet, these people, when are they going to get it? You might think everything's only peachy because you maybe are smart enough to not watch the news or reality shows. But if you catch on to any of those, you quickly go, wow, it almost feels like we're going backwards with some of this. It's messed up. All you have to do is hear some of the weird crime that goes on and the hurtful behaviors. There's still family abuses, and it's weird. Our concepts of faith are also off. Because faith doesn't mean I'm hoping, I'm going to have faith that it will someday get better. Faith is actually maintaining that despite what I think I see, there's another dimension that I'm not seeing. I'm putting on this, virtual reality headset, and what I see is reflecting what's in my heart already. That's kind of why Jesus was saying, it's not just your actions. You think your actions make you a quote-unquote sinner. He was explaining it's already what's in your heart. What did he mean by that? Not just what secrets you have in your heart. He meant your consciousness. Because whatever you're doing is going to come from your consciousness anyway. So even if you haven't done it yet, if it's in your consciousness, you already are sinning. Meaning what? I'm already mistaken in my consciousness. Because I'm not thinking like one. I understand humans have to behave better. That's the way they're going to do it, is gradually learn to behave a bit better. But the behavioral only does slow progress, and behavioral can come and go a little bit. When we really get the why do I want to behave differently? Well, it's the law now. Well, that's not, I don't get it then. When we understand oneness, any harm you would think, say, or do to another is already affecting you because we're one. So people don't quite understand. They think it's a little less racism, a little less something, and we're more like we're one. And that's not it at all. That's the form it'll take for a little while. I had this interesting thing happen just a day or two ago. And this was too detailed for me to go into, but had this interesting, phenomenal vision. And there was this incredible love and all these incredible things I can't go into. But at the end of this vision, I saw Jesus. And I said, greeted, and he said, I'm come to take you home. And he reached his hand into my body and grabbed my heart. And I thought, oh. I says, will this hurt? And he said, no. And I said, I'm yours, baby. No. So he had his hand and he was holding my heart. And he said, I'm coming to take you home. And I said, okay. I said, could I, 2 requests? I did, 2 requests. I said, one, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. It was like, because it's easy to say, I'd like to go. And another one was, I said, Can you just give me 24 hours to tell everyone so they don't get all upset about it? That's what I did. That's what I said. First, give me 24 hours to kind of get the word out so that they don't get upset. Secondly, if you want me to stay, I'll stay. And he said, you're always willing to give, aren't you? That's what he said. And so it was interesting because when you and I, even when we're not having these visions, you're always having these. And they're not always visions the way I'm describing it. We're always having an interaction with God. It's not one time it reaches in and says, I'm going to take you home now. It's every second of every day. We just don't always hear it. So if today was your calling, what would you say? I'm joking when I say, will it hurt? You heard my two questions. Can I, two things. Can I do this and this? What would you say? Would you go into, oh God, you're kidding me. Okay, give me a day to clean up my act. I swear I'll stop doing whatever I was doing. Where would you go if this is it for you? Do you feel clean? Do you feel okay? Is there any worry at all? Because if you understand oneness, there's nothing to worry about. And, what are you praying to? You have unhealed issues? Do you not like the word God? Does Jesus give you the heebie-jeebies because of Christian behaviors in the past? Where are you in your walk with God? Because you can't claim oneness. This is Jesus' point when he says, don't claim that you love God and hate your neighbor. He says that's hypocrisy. Well, look at what he means in that. People talking God all the time. People talking God in churches all the time. I was just telling someone here, because it was relevant to a question they had asked or a conversation they were having. I said, well, one time a local Catholic priest came to me. We were talking, and he was telling me about a challenge he was having with getting his congregants to get along. And I'm like, what? He says, yeah, some will not sit on the same side of the room. If they come in, they see the person, they'll sit over there. They refuse to sit on the same side of the room. I said, make them stand during the service. Just make them stand. Would you like to discuss this? Just out them. I said, tell them you're not allowed to be here. This is what we call God's temple. Metaphorically, this is God's temple. Really? You're going to show up and be divisive? In here? This doesn't make sense. I've told the joke before, but I think it's a brilliant one. So I'll do it again. And that is, there's this old school church, the whole fire and brimstone kind of church. It's all Caucasian church. But there's the janitor. He's an African-American guy. And man, this guy is faithful to cleaning, and he's doing all his work, his labor. And this all, Caucasian church. And they won't let him inside the church. And so he tries again one day. He's thinking, if I clean it, get some fine clothes, maybe they'll let me in. You can't come in. Sorry, man. So he goes into his janitor closet. And he gets on his knees and he prays and he says, God, I so badly want to be with you. But they won't let me into the church. He hears a voice. That's okay, Charlie. They won't let me in either. Ba-da-bum. So churches behaving like that with this strange, divisive, whatever going on. If they can't get it right, what are we wanting the world to do? Well, Jesus is going to come and set it straight. Yeah, and it won't look good for you. I'll just tell you in advance, if you're one of these people, it's not going to go well. So love and a sense of oneness, even if you use the word love, you don't know love if you don't know oneness. I love you, but I don't love you. That doesn't make any sense. If love and God are synonymous, how can you love some and not another? God is love, and love is complete. We may not like that. It may not be convenient to us, but that's actually good news. If it could be selective, you would have only 144,000 at the end of time going to heaven, and all kinds of kindling in hell. Everybody else is going to hell. No wonder it's an eternal damnation and fire. It can't go out. Too many people. That's not the way this actually goes down. And the role of Christ, who also was Jesus, is really unique. Let me throw this in here because some of you might get kind of triggered. But just factually speaking, a teacher like myself, we know if you really, now there's authors, they're not teachers. Authors are just, they're authors, spiritual authors. I think that's great. But just because a person's a spiritual author doesn't make them a spiritual teacher. Teacher means you sort of step up and live it a bit more. You don't just cash checks for your books being sold. You actually try to live this more. So a spiritual teacher. Now, a spiritual author's, kind of disconnected. They're just doing their thing and they're doing a great job selling books and writing books. I think that's great. A spiritual teacher is more connected to the students. A bit more connected, what they're thinking, what they're feeling, what's needed, and kind of going in that place. So there is a sense of oneness, because even as I'm doing a talk, I can tell what someone's thinking, feeling, and I can get it all. And some of it's not always happy and good, but there's stuff going on. And it's kind of what in the Far East was like a guru. They're tuned into their certain, students, and it's an interesting thing to be tapped into people and riding up and down a little bit, being kind of in a symbiotic relationship, energetically, emotionally, psychologically, and so on. You follow? Now, then you get to like angels, or let's say ascended masters, and then eventually angels. They're tuned in even more. They're even more capable, because the consciousness is big enough to tap into even more people and not go nuts. Because you're tapping into minds that seem so separate, and they have highs and lows, and you're kind of a little pushed and pulled. You have to really know how to hold center to be able to navigate that kind of thing, right? Now, despite all that, wonderful as that all sounds, and all the wonderful teachers that have ever been, no author, no teacher, no guru, no ascended master has done the following. Jesus attained Christ consciousness. Only Jesus in history is not only aware of a few students, he's actually able to know everything going on within every living particle in the universe throughout all time. Try to understand what kind of mind, and it can only be God's mind. And you can't have that if you don't understand oneness. Jesus doesn't have to sit there and go, okay, wait, I'm starting to forget about this group. And he doesn't have to concentrate for this to happen. It's almost like like a joke, an inside joke. I get that we are one. That's how I know your needs. And when you hear these comforting words from some channelings and things like, or even Jesus's historic Jesus, I am with you always. It's not like, oh, thank God he'll be there sometimes. Always. How? Because he's actually one with every particle that has ever existed. Even when we read, that Jesus or Christ, because they're sort of synonymous but not owned by Jesus. Christ is all of our true selves. But this concept, when he says, I'm with you for always, this is true, this is real. To sit and try to fathom that, breathe that in. This being is in touch with everything that's ever lived. But when we hear concepts like, I see you, let's say, he's saying to you in a vision, I see you, I've come to take you home, or whatever it happens to be. He's not visiting me and not someone else. He's in every particle that has ever existed, because everything is one. But when he does see you, he's not saying, I'm aware of all your good and bad traits. You can't be God or Christ and see the bad traits. Because the only real true self is the light of God in us. So it's kind of cool, because it's like saying, it's Jesus or the Divine Mother or the Holy Spirit isn't saying to you, well, I know you're naughty, but eventually you'll grow and evolve after maybe 180 more lifetimes, To imagine that there's a being that knows you already home. To know you before you fell and after. That's the Alpha and Omega. I'm not going to talk to you about what you've done and where you've gone and naughtiness and then eventually repentance. This concept of grace and the mind of God means I know you before you ever thought you could fall, and that's who I still see you as. And it can't change. So when you're doing affirmative prayer, you're only actually stating the truth. It doesn't involve effort. It's just stating the truth. So We are all one. Now that's the good news and the easy news. It's really, wow, that's kind of cool. But the bad news, only figuratively speaking, is that our ego decided to make another option. We're one, and the ego said, but what if you're not? What do you mean, what if I'm not? Well, what if you're not? What would happen? I don't know. I hadn't thought of that. That doesn't sound good at all. And guess what? You just thought that. That wasn't a very nice thought. Shouldn't I have thought that? No, you shouldn't have thought that. You know what's going to happen to you now? No, what? I can't even tell you. I can't even tell. But it's bad. You're kidding. Well, when's it going to come? You don't know, and you don't know who it's going to come from. So you better watch everybody. Keep them all at a distance, because they're likely they're the possible candidate that's going to bring you the karma of your negative thoughts. And that's how we live. Everyone at arm's length, even when you say I do and hug them and marry them, everyone is held at arm's length. It could be your blood relative. It doesn't matter. Everyone, psychologically speaking, is held at an arm's length, and without our realizing it. And so there are ways to heal this. Back to Jesus saying, don't say you love God and hate your neighbor. Okay, then what do you want me to do? Jesus or Christ or whatever. What do you want me to do? I want you to recognize that as you love people, you are loving God. As you dislike people, you're disliking God. No, I don't agree with that. I love God. It's people that annoy me. And you're hearing this message, you're lying. You're lying to yourself. You're making that up so that you have an excuse to dislike people, because they're all flawed. What if they're only mirroring flaws you already put there? What if you already have distrust issues, and then they're just manifesting it? Well, I wouldn't have them if they wouldn't manifest it. Oh, then you forgot an important secret to the universe. Nothing is outside of you, because you're one. So there is no other or outer, there's just you. So if you see these challenging moments, they're reflections of your own offness, where you're off. Oh, I've been dealing with people, distrust or whatever happens. Oh, okay, that's just telling us the lessons that are up. And it isn't just with people. There is no just with, everything's connected. As I love God, I love people. As I love people, I love God, and so on. It's all connected. But as I dislike, then I'm seeing my triggers. Is that a bad thing? Because technically, if you decide to sit with this and look at it, it doesn't feel good at all. That's why Jesus, as I'm paraphrasing, says, seek and you shall find. But he says in the Gospel of Thomas instead, I'm paraphrasing as I said, seek and you will become disturbed. And then you will eventually find. But he throws that other in there. Why? Because as soon as you go on the search, the spiritual path, you're going to go within. And as soon as you go within, you're going to find parts of you that you haven't been honest about. Oh, like what? You mean, there's one or two secrets. No. There's lots. If people realized how much they loathe themselves, you can't say you love God and hate your neighbor, but you also can't say that about yourself. Some of us are like, oh, I love myself. It's people I don't like, but you can't say that. It's all connected. So my interactions with people, if I'm impatient with you, it's impatience with myself somewhere. And it would behoove me to be brave and look at that. But, if we're New Agers, we like to just think only positive. We don't want to think about things like that. That will not help you. The good news is it's not the real you, so you're right to say, I don't even want to bother with it. You're right, only if you understand what you're saying. I don't want to bother with it because it's not my true self. That's true. But right now, you're not coming from your true self. So it's a weird thing because there is only God, but until we remember that, we have to look at the parts that aren't feeling like God, if that makes sense. It's a strange paradox. But again, we're in this together. I've said this many, many, many times. When I do sessions with people, even if I'm just like doing prayer with people, sometimes I'll pray and use the word you, but typically I will say, we are gathered here. We're looking for some healing. Even if I'm not conscious of any healing of any particular kind, I say we. And it's very important because to be able to say to people, I'm here with you. Not lecture to them, counsel at them, but to really say we're in this together. And at the same time, convey that you're sane. When I say that, I mean, like if they're sick, you don't have to say, oh, okay, I guess let me just prepare for sickness now. I'm not saying you jump in the quicksand with them. I'm saying there's a feeling that I'm in this with you, but I'm also committed to being in this with God. So I'm going to tether part of myself to God and reach into the problem with you. So I am here with you. If you cry, let me hold you. I'm here with you to show that feeling because it's the truth of God, which is that we're in this together. Now, if we're in this together, if that's true, and it is true, are we in this together just kind of like rah, like a team statement? Or do we really get it? Because if we're in this together, it means that as I am awake, you're going to wake up too. I can't do anything without you. So join with me. And it's kind of cool because you can be talking to somebody with the deepest, intense problems. And a part of you should be hearing them with their problems. Should be hearing them. It's okay for you to go, oh, I'm so sorry that that's happened. You don't say, get over it, it's an illusion. You say, I'm very sorry. You be with them. But as a healer, as a parent, as a guide, a coach, anything that takes the role of standing for someone and they come to you, the other part of you, the primary part of you, always, to the best of your ability, be with me, God. Be with me while I talk to this person. Be with me. Oh my God, what they're telling me is so challenging. Hear it and know that's a challenge for your brother, your sister. But the other part, centered in God. That's how you help people. People have asked me, I've been doing this work forever. And they say, how do you do this? Like with people day after day after day after day and so on. And I know that the only way I could do it is because of the consciousness I just described. I don't walk around with any ongoing technique. I don't have to like go, oh God, another human. All right, well, and do myself a special blessing because of the negative energy of humans. I totally believe that when we love, we're protected. And if we really care about people, then you love them. And if you love them, you're protected. I don't think I've ever thought the thought of, oh, but this person's got lots of problems, so I definitely should do it a special blessing to myself. I've never had that thought. Now, I'm not saying don't do that. Do that if that's your thought system. But I've never felt called to do that. It always felt kind of strange. Love and do what I will. Or if God is with me, what could be against me? So anchoring love is not a passive thing. It's very powerful, very strong, very assertive, very proactive, this concept of love. And we can't know love if we don't know oneness. So another way, like A Course in Miracles describes it, is you have to learn to think as though there's, I have no interests apart from anyone else's. So if I want to go home, everyone's going with me. If I want to know love, I need to be love. If I want to have good friendships, I need to be a good friend. I'm bringing it. Well, I wish there was more of it, I could be happy. No, step into the joy of God and bring it. And you're allowed to say, but geez, man, I've been doing this for 48 days straight, and today I'm just not in the mood. I mean, I've really done a great job. Then don't today. Say, you know what? I'm not in the mood to be happy and joyous and loving. Then you're allowed to say, bring me someone who will bring me that today. You're allowed to do that. Don't blame them for not having brought it, because that's not a cure. Own it and say, man, I could really use a miracle today, man. And let it happen. Being responsible about it still brings it to the grace of God. Blaming it, and you lost it. So this concept of enlightenment, it's all in our own hands. And what we do with it, it's all in our own hands. And how we bring it, our ability to grow and awaken is all in our own hands. And to realize, call on your angels if you need to help you in these day-to-day concepts. Call on the Divine Mother. Call on the Holy Spirit. You know oneness. I forget. Show me. And here's a situation I don't get at all. This person's really messed up. I can't be one with that. Your ego can. So own that. Wow, I'm really glad that I don't act a lot like that. But I know that since there's an ego, that's what does this. So then, what could I say to help this person? What you could say is, forgive them, they know not what they do. Because if someone's coming from their ego, they're not coming from their real self. And I have done that in my life. I know I've done it somewhere, even if it's not in the same form. Because the form isn't the problem. It's the belief that we can be separate that is the problem. So this concept of separation, when we thought we could separate, you could summarize it all like this. When we thought we could separate, we started having basically a psychotic experience. Thinking we're separate is not unlike schizophrenia. Because if you're schizophrenic, you have scar tissue in the brain that's causing short-circuiting between wires, and the neurons and synapses and all that. It's short-circuiting. And so a person with schizophrenia, and everybody's schizophrenic, let's be clear about that. How can I say that? Because you're seeing things that aren't there. What do you mean I'm seeing things? You think you're separate from God, and it's not true. You're a child of God who has scar tissue due to belief systems. Our belief systems have caused scar tissue in our brain, but in our mind, in our heart, and our soul. It's like scar tissue. And that scar tissue causes short-circuiting. So the short-circuiting, like in a schizophrenic, you're seeing things that aren't there because the firing is happening and you're going, oh, I'm seeing so-and-so. And everybody else is going, sweetheart, they're not there. But I see them, they're right there. To you, it's fully there. It's true for you. The same as you and I. This person left me. They died. My heart's broken. What do you mean they left you? They're right there. No, I don't see them because you're short-circuiting. Or people that you wish weren't there that are there. Your brain is short-circuiting. When you see, judgments in this world, harsh behaviors in this world, it's all a short-circuiting in our beliefs. I pray this is making sense because it's profound if you think about it. First of all, I don't have to judge, therefore, a group of people schizophrenic as being mentally ill. Instead, I would say, wow, we're all mentally ill. If you see anything other than God, something's wrong. Look around the room. As soon as you see any person, you're mentally ill. How do I say that? Now, I know that turns some people off. That's okay. We're done in a few minutes. You can leave. But listen. In the meantime, listen. If you look around and you see people, whether you think you like them or not, guys, they're not there. What we're seeing is all nothing but a hologram. I mean, quantum physics tells you this now. It's a hologram. But I like that hologram. I don't like that hologram. It's still a hologram. Why am I seeing them? Because you believe in separation. You can't see two people, counting yourself, one and any other person, unless your brain is short-circuiting. There's only oneness. As soon as you think there's more than one, you're suffering from a mental illness, you could say. It's a spiritual mental illness. So how do we heal this? Very simple. Take every opportunity that you have to say, I see this, and I retire the person from that role. I see you as part of myself. How can I help you today? What's going on? See, why would I offer help? Because I care. Why would I care? Because I love you. Why would I love you? Because we are love. I said we are love. That turns it around. So this spiritual schizophrenia that human beings suffer from is curable. Even though they'll tell you schizophrenia isn't curable. It is curable. But only through forgiveness. I have to forgive you what I thought you were. I think you're very good looking. I think you're terrible looking. It's all a lie. It's just holograms. You're great looking is a part of me reflected out. You're terrible looking is a part of my insecurity reflected out. And how I deal with that is it's my test. Would you like to heal today? No, not really. That person's such a jerk. Who are you talking about? God would say. Them. Oh, honey, are you okay? I only see you. No, there's another. And that's mental illness in that sense, in that context. So all of this can be turned around. All of this can be healed. And I'm saying it actually must be healed. And the good news is it will be healed. But in one of two ways, the easy way or the hard way. We can be dragged through lessons, or we can step into them and say, I get it. I totally get it. I choose not to hate. But it doesn't mean I'm going to falsely love. I'm just going to walk through the concepts of forgiveness. Why does the Hawaiian prayer, Ho'oponopono prayer, have this context of we're in this together? When it says, I'm sorry to a person, even if it's a person you've never met. Oh, I didn't do anything to them. Shh. No ego defense is needed. Just say it anyway. But why would I say I'm sorry? I don't even know them. So you don't understand oneness. When you see someone physically, financially, whatever kind of struggle they're having, you can say it quietly in your mind, the words, I'm sorry. And what it means is, I'm sorry because as soon as I see you as having what you think you have, or I think you have, I'm wrong. I'm sorry means I'm sorry that I forgot how to see you as God would see you. I put a label of some kind on you. Oops, my bad. Please forgive me. Truth is, I love you. Thank you for letting me walk through this with you. Those are those lines from that prayer. And you can change the order of the lines, but they're still the 4 necessary lines. They're all about saying, oops, my bad, letting it go, got it. It's another way of saying the same words. So we look into this world and we think we see things, and all we're seeing is ourselves. Projected over and over and over and over. Believe it or not, these are short circuit. If we're using neurology, it's a short circuiting of these synapses and neurons and so on. It's a short circuiting. So there's this tunnel, like for example, here's a past memory I have of seeing a certain person. And then here's another pathway. Some scar tissue breaks it. It's like having wires in your wall of your house or in your phone and starting to short against each other. Bzz, bzz, and it does that. And you start to hear, radio signals on your phone, and those are wires short-circuiting. So in my brain, there's a short-circuiting. One thing that happened in the past, another that's happening now, and they short-circuit. So as far as I know, I'm seeing somebody from 50 years ago, 80 lifetimes ago, standing right there. Because if I can think it, I believe it to be so. Healing is like the Holy Spirit, the Mother, coming in and unplugging the cosmic electrician. She comes in and starts, honey, this wire's gone. Just let's forget that completely. This one's not going to get repaired in this lifetime. Not without you having headaches. So let's just let that one unplug. Let's rewire that over here. And she starts rewiring. When you're doing Course in Miracles workbook lessons, this isn't just another positive thinking, like affirmations. Those are designed to unplug the necessary, whatever would be the right neurons, and replugging them in. I don't understand what anything means, unplug. But I'm willing to know what the events really do mean and what people really are in my life. Plug in something new. That's what healing's all about. But humans have settled for minutia. Humans have settled for minor doses of healing instead of being like having a willingness to go all the way with it. And I was saying, believe it or not, Adolf Hitler is just another short circuit. There's a neuron in your mind that is Adolf. There's a neuron. That's all. There's one little megalomaniac neuron that is that person. The only reason we can see him is because there's one in me. If it's not in me, I can't see it. And those are concepts that medical science, quantum science, they don't quite get yet well enough to explain it to people. And it sounds too scary. Mystics can say it. The Dalai Lama. You can, tell him, whatever about life, and he just laughs. Because it's like, oh, you actually believe that? That's kind of what he's doing. Like, you're one of the, I get it. You actually believe in these things. That's kind of what's happening. The Sufi laughter. It's because the concepts of, I actually get it. This is funny. Buddha, this wisdom, I get the secret of life and that this is an illusion. He still dies physically. So he doesn't universally get it, but as on a planet Earth, he's an ascended master. So Buddha actually gets this. And then there's this moment where one of the legends is he holds a gathering of all those he's taught. His apostles, his disciples of disciples, and they all come together en masse to one of his final talks. And he's supposed to pass down who his predecessor is going to be. Who's going to be the next leader of this thought system. And this went on for quite a while. And he wouldn't pick anybody. And everybody, in the audience, oh, well, they're just going to be like waiting, we're waiting for our beloved Buddha. But, one's trying to sit up straighter than another. And one's trying to Om a little longer, little better breath control. And, one has fasted a little longer than the other. And so there's a little of that going on. Finally, one of them lost it, stopped, being able to control himself and started laughing. And Buddha said, that's the one. It's kind of cool if you think about it. Oh, is that all I needed? Yes, lighten up. Because it's short circuits. I'm not saying this is easy to do. I mean, by all means, there are some seemingly horrible things that we do to each other. And if I saw someone abusing someone, I would do what I could to step in and stop it. The difference is, do you believe in it as being the only power of the moment? I'm going to stop that because that person is victimizing that person. There's a good guy and a bad guy. In whose opinion? Well, mine, but I'm right. And instead, this is what seems to be happening. I'm going to step in without judging either one. I'm only going to step in because it's the next right thing to do. But as I do so, or even after the fact, I'm going to ask God, help me to see this as you would see it. And God itself would never stop someone from harming another while judging them at the same time. Stopping them only. God, peace. Peace. Stop. Peace. Not you are bad, you're good. Just the will of God. And neither of those two people are feeling the presence of God. So Christ or the Holy Spirit or whatever would say, let's bring in love right now. And love would stop that. But love wouldn't judge it. So we don't quite know how to be in that consciousness. And the great news is you don't have to be expert and adept and, having trained in this level 1, love 101. And, it's actually as simple as saying, I don't know. So guide me. And asking the mother. She knows how to birth a new you. And if you're the one who has been harmed, she knows how to birth a new you. You will not know how to navigate it all. No human being can navigate it all. People can barely navigate half of a minute of their own life, let alone navigate all consciousness for all people throughout all time. Going back to where we started there, just imagine that there's a being who isn't efforting, they're calmly aware of everything. And somebody says, I had a vision with Jesus, or I had a vision of what a lover, an angel. You're not better than anyone else. You just happen to have the dial on the radio, tune to that today. We're all the same. Well, but Jesus, no, let's explain again. Hitler's a neuron. He's a short circuit. And so is Jesus. Oh, now that's sacrilegious. No, guys, it's not. Christ is not a short circuit. Jesus is. Now, is that sounding critical to Jesus? It's not. Jesus is a person that you think is outside of yourself, that you think is better than you. That's a short circuit. Because if you really understood Jesus, he would disappear and become Christ. And if you really understood Christ, you'd be standing in it as well. There would be no idolatry even for a guy as cool as Jesus. A guy who had it together as perfectly as him. That wouldn't exist. So in other words, there's nightmares and there's happy dreams. There are healthier looking synapse, neurons, firings. There are healthier looking ones. And as you hear in A Course in Miracles, Jesus is saying, well, technically, I'm like you, but I just chose to remember. But he's also adding other concepts to this. I chose to remember, and this, you too shall do this, but I did remember. So if you call on me, I will help you. I'm just your brother that'll look like an older brother who can give advice to the younger. That's all it is. And that's even metaphor. Because I'm only the older brother in time. And time's an illusion. We collectively thought we could separate. We collectively didn't. And we collectively will remember that we didn't and become one with God again. That's the perfect story. But what it looks like is we left I am better than you, chose to wake up. I'm your savior. You're lesser than me. But even though that's a nicer story than the pain story, it's still part of the story. That one is better than anyone else. He doesn't claim to be that. Yes, he did. He said, you will not reach the Father but through me. Who's he talking about? Jesus, the guy? No, he's talking about the consciousness. You cannot reach the Father but through the consciousness of Christ. And we go, yes, Jesus. No, Christ. You mean Jesus? You will not become Christed ever. Even if Jesus is my Savior, he's going to make me Christ. Even if he could or would. He would say, and the way to do it is for you to become part of the Christ. Well, I can't because only Jesus is allowed. But you're my Savior, right? No, I'm not. Heal thyself. You see? It sounds sacrilegious, but it's beautiful. And it's a paradox to know he's the elder brother. I can call upon him, and he's aware of everything that's needed. I can call on him. And yet, the paradox is, and when I even call on him, am I calling on the historic guy? No, Christ, Jesus Christ. Great. So when I call on him, then the paradox is I'm actually calling on my own Christ self. No, I want Jesus to, so you're talking separation again. Whatever your problem is, how could it be cured if you still think you're separate? Separate is what caused the problem. And so when you call on Christ or Jesus, because they're synonymous in a sense, when you call on Jesus, even Jesus himself, he's saying in the chorus, it's just a name. They're just letters. They're just language. My name, Jesus. He said, but it's a symbol of God. Therefore, it's a good idea to call on me. Because even though it's still a name, it's an illusion. It's another neuron. A name is another neuron. He's saying, but this is a happy neuron. This is one that will start lighting up and shining so bright, it will illuminate the other neurons that represent Hitler or darkness or judgment or hate. So it is right that we call. And you can say, no, for me it's angels. Great. They work for him too. Go for it. When he said, I have the keys to the universe, he meant it. And the key, it's really a key to the universe. And the key is love. And you can't love without understanding oneness. That's that hypocrisy again. Words, just tossing out words like love, or even words like we're all one and yet not understanding it. We are totally in this together. And the Christ that was Jesus is in us as well. And we're told, let the mind that was in Jesus, which is Christ's mind, be in you as well. That's an affirmation right out of the New Testament. It didn't say, let the Christ in Jesus be worshipped by you who will never attain such a thing. It's, please understand, you must activate this within yourself. And when you do, all that is good starts percolating up. You start having better days. You feel brighter, even if you're sick. It's almost like you're in a great form of delirium. I should be really bummed right now, but I just feel happy. And that's because you're experiencing a peace that surpasses understanding. So the last thing I'm going to share, basically think of an exercise. Ask yourself, if you believe in oneness, ask yourself why you believe in oneness. Because you can say, no, I totally believe in oneness. Okay, why? I believe in oneness because we're all part of one race. That's not the total picture of oneness. So that's nice that because we're all one. What about, because I've heard this from healers too. I noticed after doing a lot of healing, we do all share similar wounds. Is that why we're one? No. That's just kind of a symptom. Why do you think we're all one? Ask yourself. Is it because we share the same wounds? Is it because we're one race? Is it because, we're all just kind of connected? What is your reason? Think it through for believing we're one. Do you understand it's because we're all one in God? It's not because of wounds and race, and it's not human genetics. It's not star children. Forget all these cosmic things. Those are nice symptoms. The only reason I understand we're one is that we're one in God. God created us as part of itself. We are a thought in God, and the thought cannot leave the creator of itself, of it. So we're still in God, believing that we're here going through all these struggles, begging for all kinds of symptomatic solutions. But if we really calm and breathe and realize, I'm not hoping we're one, I actually believe it. And even if you don't totally believe it, say you do. Say, I believe it enough to want to start witnessing it. So show me. And it'll start showing up. You don't have to control it. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to say, okay, I'll get to a complete sense of oneness and let you know, God. Call on God to teach you that oneness. It's the only shortcut, really. So think in these terms. And one more technique we'll just do as a meditation together. So please take a few centering breaths. We are all one. Not hopefully so, not just philosophically so. We are actually all one. Think of or become aware of everything you've ever liked or disliked. Any person, animal, weather, climate, anything. A book, a teacher, a partner. Can you accept the concept we're all one without seeing any attempt to exclude anyone? Oh, but I'd rather it not apply to them. Watch for those thoughts. Even if it's a subtle feeling of wanting to exclude someone. We're tempted to disbelieve that we're one with people we think are superior to us. And we're also doing the same when we think someone is lesser or in some way grosser in their behavior. I'm not going to think about it. I'm not going to try and control this. We're all one. One what? Race or more? No, God. If we're all one, and just imagine everybody you can think of, if we're all one, the mind will start off with, we're all one despite our pros and cons. But the only way you can be one is if you're in God. So try it that way. We're all one, but really only one if we're in God. And now, if that's true, I don't even have to sort out the people I don't like. Right? See? Because it's already established. The curriculum, the criteria. We're only one in God. So all the people I would have thought are too better than me, too lesser, they're already being cleaned out. Their behaviors, they're becoming just light. I'm abandoning all my thoughts and opinions and judgments. Try to feel a shift in your body. Let it be organic. A shift in your heart and soul. I don't have to fix them. We're all one, but I don't have to fix them. Make them more one like me. Because we're one in God. God is, I am, we are. And everything's okay. And when I encounter a person, let's pretend we're going about our day, and someone, your ex or a best friend, a least friend, or whatever it is in the world, someone cutting you off on the road, anything. Just remember this. We are still one. This person is either symbolizing my feeling aligned with God or separate. That's all everything ever is. It's a symbol that I am one or that I'm not. Every negative encounter is a manifestation of a subtle belief that I'm still maintaining, which is scar tissue in the brain, that I'm separate. And now I'm seeing a short circuit that manifests as a holographic image of someone outside that I don't like. They came from the short circuiting, and the short circuiting came from the wounding in me that were separate. Scar tissue from a wound. The wound is a belief. I get it. When one such person shows up, I'm giving them to you, God. I'm giving them to the mother to help me heal. Not only because I feel like I'm indebted, I must fix them. No. Because I love them, because we're one. This is my brother, sister, and I'm clearly not seeing them straight, accurately. Why? Because somewhere in me I must have thought I was separate. How do I know that? Because someone looks separate from me outside. And there are also people that symbolize my sense of oneness. What should I do with them? Worship them? No. Thank them for being a mirror that I'm getting it together. Every positive experience, every time someone pays your, tollway and so forth, every positive thing that's ever happened was a sign, like a symbol, a manifestation. Still, it's a short circuit because they look separate from me, but it's a happy dream. It's a symbol that I'm coming home. So all such people, I give thanks to you, but I still retire you from looking like you're outside, Jesus included. Forgive me for my beliefs that anything that is good is outside of me. You folks, even you, Jesus, you symbolize the goodness that I too am attaining. Every positive, every love, every affectionate, authentic, but affectionate touch. This is a sign of me pulling it together and accepting love in my life. What am I going to do with it? Ruin it? Or understand it? We're all in this together. I understand now. Even if I don't totally understand, I'm still affirming, I actually get this. We're all in this together. When it doesn't look like it, it's because I'm reflecting my subtle beliefs in separation, which also reveals my own sense of lacking self-worth. How can I lack self-worth if God created me? Just a last moment, staying together. And if you don't mind, reach to a hand next to you on each side if you can. If it's not comfortable to you, and online, just feel it. Use your own hands. But if you're not comfortable, just put them on your own heart. It's all right. These arms that have these hands hold. And they're continuations of my arms, and my arms are continuations from my heart center. So reaching out my arms, my hands, is a symbol of me reaching out my heart. I'm not always comfortable with it. I don't know this person. What if they're different? Who knows where they've been? Well, what if it's same gender? All the stuff of life. I wish the opposite sometimes. I wish my mother would have held my hand like this. That's the opposite. Some beautiful positive triggers. Whatever they are, just see them. And let them dissolve in this idea. What if my holding the hands that I'm holding, even if it's my own? What if My ability to hold this hand unconditionally with love, patience, compassion, as though it were given to me to hold the whole race and all the universe for that matter, but all beings. What if God said, if you're able to hold their hand with absolute love, you will save them all? Could I do it? Would I do it? I'm doing it now. I am the Savior of the world, and I will not hold back. What if they reject me? What if they don't want to hold my hand? What if they're, shh, and I love you anyway? It wouldn't be the God part of you that would think such thoughts, and I only choose to know the God part of you right now. I'm holding focus and intention. And lastly, if we're one, and we are, and I'm feeling connected and happy right now, then it might mean that everyone else in the universe, because we're one, is feeling the same thing. I'm igniting a joy frequency through all humanity, and because we're one, it can't leave me and reverberates right back in and through my being. For just a half a minute more, tune into how incredible that is, how beautiful that is. And just with a subtle humming, not mouths open, breathe in, and let's do a minute of sounding. Keep going. Let the sound move out the arms to the hands of each other. Even if we're not holding someone's hand, let it just emanate out to everyone anyway. Don't judge. They're not holding your hand. Don't judge. Just love. What you're experiencing right now, keep going, is described in the Bible as there was a vibration coming from the wings of angels, bringing the presence of God to all the world. As they flapped their wings, there was this humming, vibrational sound, and it was going throughout the universe. Half a minute more. And the sound is vibrating, and it's vibrating where? Up in your head, which is up in heaven. And it's your throat center that's doing this, because that's your Christ center. So the Christ in me is sending out a frequency of love, of vibration, and the angels are all supporting me in this as it's sent out all around the planet and then throughout the universe. Any being in the universe that can hold still long enough to listen can actually hear you. Not maybe. Factually, actually can hear you. Because there's no time and distance. Everything is one. And imagine them out there somewhere. Those who are in pain stopped for a moment and actually heard you and wondered what that was. But it made them feel better. I'm so grateful that I can have an effect like this. I'm so grateful that I can be part of the living Christ on earth. And relax. Nicely done.